Hello, can you make a World Chalice deck? Please do World Chalice. Please make one on World Chalice link deck. Chalice video. Alright, I get it, I'll make the video. But please, never post that again. So in my last video, I used 15 ultra rares, which I know for most of you is probably a little bit expensive, without doing something drastic like selling your grandma. So for this video, I decided to tone it back a little bit. This deck list only requires one mandatory ultra rare. That's it. Well, except for Code Talker, but that card's literally free, okay, so it doesn't really... Just let me have this clickbait. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before I go through the deck list, if you're enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, as apparently about 50% of the people watching this are even subscribed to the channel, yet nearly all of you are returning viewers who have seen my stuff before. So you find yourself keep coming back to the channel and want to see more content just like this in the future, remember to hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. Alright, let's get into the deck list. So as you can probably tell, this deck list is extremely free to play friendly. The only actual mandatory ultra rare in the entire list is going to be your Ningirsu, which hopefully, since you're going into the new box anyway, you should be able to get one copy of it. And since you only need one copy, at most it's one full rotation, so it's not that bad, if you get lucky. The only other ultra rares I'm actually using in this deck list is of course your Code Talker, which is literally a free card you get for just logging into the game, and MST, which most of you guys will have already, but if you don't, it's very easily replaceable. Literally just replace it with any back row removal in the game. If you don't have literally any of it, like you don't have Bin Lance, you don't have Cosmic Cyclone, you can always use cards like Spiritualism, which is free from the card trader, or cards like Typhoon, which is literally only a normal, or even cards like Fire Formation Goku if you happen to have it. Just literally any sort of back row removal in the game, you just need something, because this deck list, it does struggle pretty heavily against literally one singular trap card, and you'll probably just lose the game. The only other card in this deck list that might be a little bit hard to get a hold of will be your Agent of Creation Venus, as although it's only an SR card, it is from the Flame of the Tyrant box, which is an absolutely ancient box now, but on the bright side, because it's an ancient box, although most of you haven't got into it yet, it is half price a pack, so it's only 25 gems a pack, so it's a lot cheaper to go into than normal, and it's from back when the mini boxes were actually only 80 packs a box, so it's a lot smaller of a box too, and the gems are cheaper, so... And if you're that desperate, there's also SR Dream Tickets of course, but I will warn you, using SR Dream Ticket on this particular deck list, or on this particular card, probably isn't the most value you can get out of it, since it's not the most versatile card, you'll probably only play this in a few deck lists, so maybe not the best target, but if you're desperate, feel free. Alright, let's talk about how this deck list works. So this deck list is based around the Agent of Creation Venus, which got an absolutely insane buff from the brand new world. Since this card allows you to pay 500 life points to special summon out a Shine Ball from the deck, and it's not a once per turn. So essentially, this card can generate itself, plus 3 other cards, therefore giving you 4 materials to go into a Link 4 monster, or in the case of this deck list, quite a bit more than that. Generally, the game plan for this deck list is quite simple. You get a hold of your Agent of Creation Venus, summon out your Shine Balls, use the balls to go into your Link monsters, which are absolutely insane when it comes to Link climbing, as each one of these World Chalice monsters, when they go to the graveyard, will summon another World Chalice straight from the hand. And since this deck has a bunch of searches as well, it means you simply just summon out a World Chalice, go into a Link 2, go into a Link 3, go into a Link 4, and so forth, as you'll see in the gameplay. Alright guys, I could sit here and talk about every single card in this deck list right now, but that would be a massive waste of time, as it's much easier for me to show you how these cards work when I show you them during the gameplay. So without further ado, let's get into the gameplay portion. Alright, let's get into the replays. So I tried to cover most of the starts this deck list has, as although most of the end boards look very similar, the ways you get there is pretty different a lot of the time, since there's just a trillion different ways to start this deck, and different ways to get a hold of your Venus. Alright, so let's get into it. So the first matchup was against Melodious, which is something I haven't seen in quite a while. Honestly, the quality of these replays was quite good today, as the season just reset, so most of the competent players are now back down in the shitter levels, so you get to see a lot of good deck lists today. Alright, so first off was Melodious. Summoning out some dudes, doing some normal Melodious stuff. Thankfully, although he sets 2 back row here, both these cards were pretty shit. I think one was just a Necro Fusion and the other was... I don't even remember. Because we didn't draw MST, so this could have gone really badly. This deck list is definitely a going first deck most of the time, as going second literally one lot of disruption, you can't play through it. There's like no special summons from hand outside of once you've already got your stuff on board, so it's pretty damn bad. Alright, Venus summoning out my dudes, so now I can go into my Link 1, since it only requires one normal monster. Then I'm going to use its effect to be able to use a second normal summon to go into my World Chalice, and now that it's been normal summoned, I can use its effect to, when it's sent to the graveyard, to summon out 2 World Chalices from the deck. Or World Chalice monsters. He then banishes my graveyard for some reason. Good on him. Alright, summoning out my Guardragon and my Fairy. Fairy searches for a World Chalice from deck. So now I can link summon into my Priestess. Summon out my final Shine Ball. And use those 3 monsters on field to go into my Link 4. Which is actually an insane Link 4 in this deck list, because co-linking it is really easy to do. And if it points to 2 monsters, it can remove 2 monsters. Priestess going to grave summons a World Chalice from hand. Guardragon in graveyard can banish itself to summon back a normal monster from the grave to an arrow elite monster points to. So do keep that in mind when you're doing this exact play. You don't want to be summoning this dude, the card from hand, into the zone in front of the Link arrow, because you need that for your Guardragon summon. This time going into a Chalice Dragon. This is because I want to be able to summon the card from hand by sending the World Chalice to the graveyard, so... Summoning out Priestess, co-linking the dude, and being able to special summon my World Chalice dude from hand. Activating this card's effect to now send 2 cards to the graveyard. He only has MST as background, so we don't care. I definitely could have lethaled him this turn, because I could have then used these 2 cards to go into another 3, but I was kind of... Actually, don't even know why. I think my timer was low or something. I don't know. I definitely could have lethaled him here, but either way, he was dead. Alright, on to the next replay. Alright. So this deck list may seem kind of complex at first, but since most of the end boards kind of end up the same, it's not too hard to get your head around. You'll definitely misplay quite a bit and accidentally block Link arrows and summon cards in spots you didn't really want them, but keep in mind, it is the same end boards most of the time, so it's not that hard to play once you've played it quite a bit. Alright. This is when I went first, thankfully, as this is a very hard matchup because we have no Book of Moons, so if he summons out his Negate, we're pretty doomed, so thankfully he went first. Alright, summoning out my World Chalice Fairy. This because I'm now going to target it with my Transmodify, because that will just simply turn this card into the Venus. And also this card normal summon searches for a Chalice. Alright. Transmodify, swapping it over, summoning out Venus. Venus now can summon out some tokens. Summon them into your Guardragon. Using extra normal summon to go into your dude, summoning out another Shine Ball. Summoning out the Code Talker. Using the effect of the Fairy in Graveyard to send a card from the field to the card from field or hand to the graveyard to then add itself back to hand. Which in this case, we sent the World Chalice to the graveyard, which had been normal summoned, so it can summon the 2 dudes from deck. This probably sounds overly complicated to a lot of people, but don't worry, once you've played it a bit, you'll get the hang of it. Alright, Link summoning out my World Chalice. Link summoning once again into Priestess. Summoning my dude from hand. Once again, 3 cards on board, going into my Firewall Dragon. Priestess being able to special summon a card from hand. Guardragon summoning the dude from graveyard. And ending on a co-link again. Not quite as good as the first board, as we don't end on the extra special summon from hand with another World Chalice on field, but it's still fine. We still got co-linked, we can remove 2 cards if we like, and we've got an MST. Alright, he summons out a dude. I wait for him to do some Xyz summoning. And once he's done summoning a card that he's going to use to try and destroy my stuff, I'll then get rid of it. And MST is bad for him. And from here, yeah, he's just dead. Alright. Next replay. Alright, now something I actually didn't mention about the Link monsters is just how immune to destruction they are. The end board anyway. I'll show it in a second, but they're actually all basically immune to destruction, having those 3 on board. So your opponent can't just, I don't know, there's no way to actually properly deal with it in the second turn. Unless they, like, Book of Moon can't target it because they're Link monsters, you can't turn them face down. If they had, like, I forget, like Lightning Storm or something, you can't just get rid of it. I forget what the card is in Duel, Legs, the destruction cards, but there's no quick play spell cards that can just remove them. It just doesn't happen. That's like a super poly. Alright, Venus summoning out 2 dudes. Going to your link 1, using the 2 dudes on field to go into a Code Talker. Chalice Dragon, special summoning card from hand, searching for my, well, Legacy dude. Which we can now summon out my Chalice Dragon to get an extra normal summon. Normal summoning it out, using the 2 guys to go into your Priestess. Special summoning the, adding the card to hand by sending the dude to the graveyard to summon out the 2 dudes. And there's the 3 monsters again to go into your Firewall. Special summon from hand, summon from a grave, and set up your board again. Actually, I don't know why I didn't need to summon the Chalice Dragon here, oh no, I did have to, because, yeah, never mind. I had to get 2 monsters with different types for the summon of the Link monster, Link 2. Alright, he summons out his Neos. I'm not going to return it to hand because I'm just going to wait. I'm waiting for him to summon out his fusion monsters, obviously. And like I mentioned earlier, these cards are all basically immune to any kind of destruction effects, so I'm not really scared at all. This card actually can't be targeted, and this card pointing to the Firewall means it protects it from destruction, because if this card gets destroyed by a card effect, you can send this card instead. This card, whilst it's pointing to a monster, can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, so hell, they're immune to shit. And this one can't even be targeted by stuff, so it's a very, very solid board. Alright, summons out Brave Neos. Tries to hit with a favorite hero, we can just MSC that. Then Neos Fusion, summoning out his dude, and that's when we return everything to hand. Alright, next replay. Alright. So yeah, every one of these end boards look very, very similar. I think the last 2 replays, at least the last replay, I tried to do something a little bit different to show you guys some other stuff this deck can do. But generally, you're going to be ending on that end board most of the time. Even going second, that's still the end board you generally go for, since it just removes 2 and you just lethal your opponent that way. So going first or second, that's generally the play. Alright, Venus summoning out the dudes. Giving me an extra normal summon. Linking off to Link 2, summoning out the 2 guys from deck. Adding this dude to hand. Summon last token, 3 dudes, going to Firewall, summoning the other guy. Summon the other guy. Unfortunately, my opponent had a DD Crow here, which I knew. I saw during the, I was baiting, or it wasn't baiting, I was just, as I was playing, I saw the activation prompts kept coming up, so I was like, yeah, this guy definitely has a DD Crow in hand. So instead of summoning out one of my normal cards, I summoned out the World Chalice from hand, because I knew I wouldn't be able to go into my Link 2 here, and this card also acts as disruption, since this card, if a monster is special summoned from the extra deck, except during the damage step, you can tribute it to send that card to the graveyard. So although I no longer have my 2 returns to hand from this card, I still have 1 return to hand, and I have this dude on field to deal with extra deck as well. Though Firewall is no longer protected from destruction effects, so it's a little bit weaker. Alright. Although I'm not too scared going second versus Salamangreat, as with this particular list, there's too much disruption for them to really deal with. And they can't really get over the 2500 attack without their Link 3, so if I deal with the Link 3 or I stop them getting to it, they're pretty doomed. Alright, summons the dude. I'm waiting for him to go into a Link 2, basically. Summons his foul. I'm not going to stop any of this, as I know this deck list has a billion spell cards and a billion ways to special summon. I'm just waiting for him to Link summon. Goes to Link summon, I return it. I send it to the graveyard, and then he just gives up from there. He tries to activate his Crackdown to target my Firewall Dragon. Firewall Dragon I protect with the Guardragon in hand, since this card in hand can protect your Link monsters from targeting effects and destroy them, so destroying the Crackdown. Alright. On to the next replay. I think this was another Salamangreat, I think. It was. Alright. Again, going first, thankfully. This deck list is awful going second versus Salamangreat, unless you get lucky and MST their counter trap, because this deck cannot play through the counter trap at all without MST, so just pray to God you go first. Venus summoning the 2 tokens. Like, this deck list is pretty good going second if it gets its combo off, since it's good at removing stuff, but obviously, it's hard to get your first summons off, since if you have any kind of disruption, you lose your Venus, you lose the game. Alright. Code Talker. Summoning from hand, searching for dude. Link summoning, getting extra normal summon, link into link 2. Send to graveyard to summon the 2 dudes, adding back to hand. 3 dudes, firewall, summon from hand, summon the normal monster. This guy also had a DD Crow, because of course he did. So main board ends a lot worse than the previous, because I don't have the World Chalice card this time, because I didn't get a hold of it. Didn't get hold of another one anyway. So send MST and pass. But I'm still not too worried, as 1 return to hand is generally enough to deal with this Decklist, if you hit it at the right time. Which we hit it at a banger time this time. Waited for the Jackal to try to summon itself to an arrow Link monster points to, and I target the Link monster to get rid of it, so it doesn't summon itself back to the board, and he basically loses everything. And lost his once per turn effect to the Jackal. MST's back row, and from there, yeah, he can't do anything, game over. Alright. Final replay. This one's a little bit spicier, because this one I actually got to do something else that wasn't the standard play. And this shows why we're using, what's his face in the deck list. The one Ultra you have to obtain. To be fair, you don't actually have to obtain this Ultra for the deck list. I know I said it's mandatory at the start, but it's not that mandatory. It's just very, like, I don't know, I recommend it highly. Alright. Alright, Ray Shoot going to his dude, and this card is untargetable. So this card is kind of a soft counter, as my Decklist can't deal with, my Firewall Dragon can't remove this from the field. So we have to deal with it another way. MST, thankfully hitting the back row that was useful. Venus summoning out the tokens. So now I can go into my Chalice. Summoning out my dude, Link summoning, going into Blademaster this time. This is because I want to use the center zone for my Link summoning. Summoning out the 2 dudes. Searching for my World Chalice. Going into my Link 2. Summoning back my Link 1, or my dude to go into a Link 1. So now I have 2 Link monsters on the field, which is the requirement to go into your Ningirsu, which this card is actually a non-target effect, meaning I can send this untargetable thing to the graveyard, along with a card I control. Unfortunately, I don't have any... Oh no, sorry. I activate this card's effect first, so this card, it can then draw cards equal to the 2 cards... It can draw cards equal to the amount of World Chalice monsters in front of its Link arrows. So in this case, we have 1, and these dudes are then going to special summon a card from hand, as they'll send to graveyard. In this case, thankfully we drew into an MST, because now we can combo the MST with this card's effect. So you Chain Link 1, you activate your Ningirsu to then try to remove a card on the field. Then, in response to that, Chain Link 2, you activate your Mystical Space Typhoon to target his back row. That way, the card you send to the graveyard will just be the Mystical Space Typhoon. And from there, he just concedes. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's videos. I hope you guys, or today's gameplays. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.